Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, and turn on notifications so that you will receive alerts when there are new episodes. Go get it.
This what I tell them. I've been grinding for so long, I wake up and chase my goals. I go out and I go get it. How to code, that's all I know. I don't succeed, then I don't breathe. Success, what does it mean? If I conquer all my goals, then I'm living out my dream. Dig deep, go out and get it. Success Chronicles. Compete until it's finished. Success Chronicles. Go take care of your business. Success Chronicles. It's deeper than just winning. Success Chronicles.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Chip Baker coming to you with another episode of the Success Chronicles. And today we have Mr. Stephen Cleveland, the professor, the prof, great man, ethnic studies professor, filmmaker, involved in lots that's truly making a positive difference. And I'm so thankful to have him on this episode of the Success Chronicles. So first off, thanks so much for taking the time to interview with the Success Chronicles.
It's a pleasure, brother. Thanks for having me.
Yes, sir. Well, let's dive into it. I know off air, we talked a little bit about your amazing story, but if you don't mind sharing some of that story and tracking your story till now.
Most definitely. I always tell people, I have this triangle that is my life. I was born in Birmingham, Alabama, and we sort of moved and ended up in Northern California when I was eighth grader, we moved there. So I was last year of junior high. And then from there, I went to my undergrad in Southern California. Went to UCLA for my undergrad, and I did MFA program at USC. Then after that, I moved back to Alabama. I went to reconnect with family, all my cousins when they were grown, just so I can have real relationships with them. And then from there, I met my wife, and we moved to Northern California. Where I started teaching at Cal State East Bay, which is in Hayward, and been teaching there since. But then we moved to Southern California, where most of my film work is, and so now I live in Southern California. So it's this triangle, which is my life, and a triangle is really it's amazingly steeped in African American history, from the Civil Rights era. Birmingham to Black Power movement in Northern California. Lived right by the Muslim bakery. I discovered bean pies at a formative age, and then going from there to UCLA, which was the first place to have an African American Studies course, right, which was the first incarnation of ethnic studies. And a long history of civil rights on that campus. So that trilogy, that trinity of my lived experience is very connected to the thematic sort of pursuits of my life as an ethnic studies professor and filmmaker.
Good stuff. Well, what are 3 things you've accomplished in your life that you're proud of?
I was saying, I was thinking about this. I think first and foremost is just being a family man.
Yeah.
Like, it's been, as I've grown, I think, you take for granted the work that you do, right? The role that you have in leading your family, in guiding, or because not all of my folks. I was a first generation college student, right? So the access I had to education is the thing that I learned to be able to bring those back not only to my mom and dad and eventually my daughter and my daughters, and so that just not to share it there, but also to share it with my extended family, right? I've realized that. And so being a part of the family, being engaged in family, doing that actively while still pursuing the other stuff, that's probably one of the biggest things that I sort of have that I think of. I also think about the other thing is like my two decades as a professor. I never wanted to teach. Like, teaching was not something, like I didn't love my teachers when I was in school, and I never thought about teaching as a thing. Now, to be fair, I come from a whole line of teachers. Like, all of my cousins are teachers, and my aunts were all ran sort of the church daycares, you know what I mean? So the idea of teaching was very
know that life.
The center of it, right? That was family. That's what we did. But I'm proud of the fact that I not just did it, but the discipline it takes to stick with something. You know what I mean? It really has been amazing to explore Blackness from this capacity for the last couple of decades. And that's been something I'm super, super proud of. And last and certainly not least is being able to work with Charles Burnett, man. It is so crazy for me in thinking of my life story. Charles Burnett, who produced the film Killer of Sheep. He went to UCLA as I did. A guy who sparked my interest in filmmaking, and I met while he was doing a lecture at USC, and my mentor was an editor for him, and so my mentor ended up introducing me to him, and over the years developing a real bond with him as a mentor and as a friend. And now to be doing a project with him, right? Doing a project, not just any project, but a project telling a story of MLK that many people don't know about. Like being able to do this with him is really this ultimate sort of like fulfillment, right? Of what, I feel like of my purpose, of the thing that I've committed my life to. And so, I think, that's what I think about. Like, I think all of them are connected to that. Like for me, I was put in my family to be who I am to my family, right? Imperfect as I am, but that's what it is. And so fulfilling that purpose is awesome. Fulfilling, your job, being a leader in the community as a entitled lecturer in ethnic studies at Cal State East Bay, being a leader in that community, and then, being able to do work with somebody who laid the path for me and to be able to sort of with him lay the path for the next generation. That's something I'm super proud of.
Those are definitely three things to be proud of. Talk to us more about the project that you're doing with Charles Burnett and the title and, kind of how that came about and, the future for it, if you don't mind.
Most definitely. The project is called A King in Paradise. Mm-hmm. And it looks at the 5-day trip he took in 1959 to Hawaii, which was the first of 2 trips that he took there. He went back there in 1964. But the trip was awesome in the sense that it was the first time that he had talked to such a big audience of non-Black or white folks. So most of the time people think of him as like dealing and living in Black and white. But this was a moment where we see the impact he had beyond just Black and white folks in America. And it sort of hints to the growth of his celebrity, right? He at 59, he was a year after he'd done his first book, and then his biggest success, I think, was Montgomery to that date. And so he wasn't that big, right? He wasn't the dude that he would become, right? And so, it was interesting reading and looking in the newspaper and seeing it not on the front page, right? You think about it, it was like a 3rd, 4th, 5th pager, right? And there was only 1,000 people that came to the first event that he was scheduled to do. But what was historic about this trip is he happened to be there 3 weeks after Hawaii had become annexed. So Hawaii officially became a state. And he was invited, not before he came, but after he landed, to be the first diplomat to speak before the Hawaiian state legislature. So he did this speech there, a speech that, was a combination of many different speeches he does. But the speech was very much thematically about segregation and the need to fight it. And this was at the time, the incarnation of systematic racism as he was fighting, right? The idea that separately but equal, this notion of somehow you can deliver these things both, which was not true, right? And I think that's the world we live in right now, where folks are seeing this separate but equal world that we're walking in, and they're like, yeah, no, it's fine. Black people, meritocracy that I talked about earlier before we got on, this notion of meritocracy, when it comes to systems like education, when it comes to system like justice system, this is a notion of meritocracy and that he fought, right, firmly. And it was like, no, this idea of doing things that it's separate, but it's equal somehow. It's like, no, we're treated differently. And that different treatment really does impair our ability to fully join this union. And it's one of the largest failures of America, which is to live up to its notion that everybody would have access and everyone would be able to be equal. And so over and over again, Black folks are reminded that they are not equal. Now, not saying that like I say, I am one for focusing on transition and transcending out of that. Like, I don't want to spend all my energy fighting against systematic oppression. In a way, it feeds that energy for us focus there. So I'm looking at ways to transition, transcend, to move forward. I want to do that as a people. But it is important for you to also acknowledge history, or you will be damned to repeat it. And I think that's the reason why I very much think it's important for us to acknowledge it. Not that it's the only energy we have, but acknowledge the fact that, systematic racism exists. So this trip he did was really about informing people. He was out there he was talking to the people who were elected officials. He was getting people to support legislature. He was getting the hearts and mind of people on his side. And it really spoke to his talent, to tactics, right? This idea of not just sort of feeling like, hey, I won't change. And like, you're on the screen. He was like, no, what's my strategy here? How do I move people? How do I leverage resources? And he just was a great tactician. And I think that this film is going to give us a chance to sort of look at that tactician in him and how it played out in these 5 days he was visiting. But also thematically, his speech was about a need for us to move beyond the extremes. He talked about extreme pessimists who felt like America would never live up to the promises that it made for us. And then the extreme optimists who are like, look, just look at how far we've come. Y'all just need to wait. We don't need you to fight against this. Just, we got this. We're moving there, right? And he was saying that there's a need for a realist in this moment who acknowledge, yes, we have come a long way, but also we have a long way to go. And so that speech was very much about saying, like, how do we get sustainable change that delivers it on a regular way, right? In a way that just doesn't sit on our laurels and be happy with the fact that we're not as bad as we were, but also looks to figure out what we can do. So thematically, that's what this is all about. It's the journey of me taking a group of young people to discover the story, and then them reflecting what they got from it, right? At the same time, the movie will have some journalistic clips from the Black Lives moment that we're in, right? The ideas of the statues, the Confederate statues, the idea of reparations or not, the notion of Black Lives Matter, pushing for defunding police. Those conversations will be there in sort of journalistic clips while we examine this trip from the perspective of teaching young people about King and his tactics and how he moved, and thinking about what are the lessons MLK had for this moment that we're in. And so I'm super excited about it, not only doing it, but doing it with Charles. And so that's where we are. We're currently in phase 2 fundraising, looking to go to Hawaii and shoot a short and collect some stories from our elders, because with Corona we really have concerns about some of the people just not being around. Folks are getting older, and there are the people who were there when MLK was there in 59, so they were 16, 17-year-olds when they were 59, so they're in their 80s, and so it's time for us to get there and get these stories. And so that's what we're doing right now. So I'm sure we'll share the site where people can go and see how they can join the team and support the effort. But it's a pleasure, man. It's humbling, but super exciting to be able to to be with the guy who got me into filmmaking, telling the story about the guy who inspires me in terms of what I do in ethnic studies. It's pretty, I feel very lucky to be on this journey.
That's powerful. And that's certainly what I was thinking too, just hearing you talk about it and just seeing the joy that it brings you to be able to do it. I was just thinking to myself, man, how cool is that to, work with a legendary filmmaker, in pursuit to show appreciation and highlight another legendary guy, that we all look up to and, strive to be like, in making a legendary product, so how cool is that? And man, super excited for you. Excited to see the product, excited to see and help, promote the journey as well, because I think it's amazing, something that I wholeheartedly believe in as well. So in hearing your really neat journey, in hearing about the things that you're proud of, in hearing about the legendary acts that you're a part of, I would consider all that to be hugely successful. So let's hit on success. What is your definition of success?
I really think that success is really connected to legacy, and legacy was very connected to our ancestors, right? So I'd say that one of the things that I became very aware of is that oftentimes we think of ancestors as people who died and who we read about in books, but the truth is that most of our ancestry, most of the line that we're following is really connected to our parental lines, right? So it's really about aunties, uncles, grandmas. Those are the biggest influences on our lives, right? And so to me, the idea of fulfilling my dad's dream of getting a college education. He's a guy who served and returned home to a segregated Birmingham, which didn't allow him to enroll in college. You know what I mean? So he wanted to go, but there were white registrars who just wouldn't allow him to take his GI Bill. And so I'm fulfilling his dream of doing that. Like I say, David Walker's Appeal is a really big book for a young person, even though it's super thin, right? And that was the first book I read, and he gave that to me and laid the foundations for me to end up becoming a filmmaker and an educator, in particular an African-Americanist. He gave me the foundational tools. I read Autobiography of Ex-Color Man before, I was, first of all, I was reading, at that age, right? But I was reading books that were like pretty thick. And it was just, he set expectations for me, which allowed for me to achieve at such a high level, right? And so I feel like in terms of legacy, it's not about my legacy. It's the legacy of MLK. It's the legacy of my father. It's the legacy of Charles Burnett. So it's me being connected. Legacy is not about ego. It's not about individualism. It's about walking your purpose and being obedient and delivering what's meant for you to deliver. But then the other part is joy, man. That's the other part to me in terms of success. It's joy. It's like while doing that, having joy. And one of the things that I embrace very much every morning is that no matter what's going on financially or what's going on with Corona, with the president or whatever's going on in the world, every morning, man, I choose joy. That's it. Yeah. I just hey, people always ask me why are you so happy? I know blah, blah, blah happened and whatever. And it's why are you always so happy? I was because my mama taught me. My mama taught me this. And she taught it to me at a time that I didn't know what she was talking about. She was like, baby, you can always choose joy. And I was like, yeah, that's crazy, whatever. That didn't make no sense to me. And then I got older and I was like, wait, I woke up this morning and I'm I have the ability to choose to be joyful about what I got to do. I was like, man, it's so simple, right? And it's a shift. And that joy begets joy, that begets joy. And to me, that's success. So being joyful while delivering something that sort of, delivering something that can be legendary, something that has a legacy, something that a bridge that my daughter can then walk over and build and walk, and leave for the next generation. So those are two pieces to me seem, to be most important to me in terms of what success looks like. And so right now it's a big legacy piece of it. I'm spending these years trying to do as much as I can do. I told my wife, I was before I retire, right? Then I'm looking forward to hanging out and making it about her and the kids and the grandkids and my extended family and my friends. To me, the vision of life is both the work, right? But also building in the joy and knowing what you need to make that joy for yourself is as important as being clear about what you want to be remembered for.
That's awesome. Well, before we get off, if you don't mind sharing with the audience where they can go follow you and check you out and show you some love with all of the amazing things you have going on.
Yeah, most definitely. Instagram is my main hang at the Prof Life. And so, yeah, just check me out there. You can check out the project at www.akinginaparadise.com. It'll take you to our crowdfunding page, which has all our updated information on it, on what's going on in terms of the fundraising efforts and all our new people that we have coming on board to support us, which is exciting. So those are the best places to catch me. And I'm so excited to be able to share this sort of with folks, right? And hopefully the way that I approach my life can sort of inspire folks to find a way to put together their life. Again, to me, big up to joy, right? Big up to joy, right? Not just about what you leave here, but like how you do it, man. You got to do it in a way that not only gives you joy, but brings joy to the other people around you.
That's awesome. Well, truly thankful for the opportunity to hang out with you and interview you. I wish you continued success on everything that you have going on.
Thank you so much, man. Very much a pleasure. Looking forward to continue to build, my friend.
Yes, sir. Well, thank you guys for checking out this episode. We'll see you next time. God bless. Go get it.